We've been here before, and there is so much of it that feels like 2016 all over again, even down to Kamala Harris due to appear at her watch party tonight and not going, exactly as Hillary Clinton didn't in 2016 at the Javits Center in New York, and all her supporters going home disappointed. Look, we've still got a way to go, but de facto, Donald Trump is the 47th president of the United States of America in one of the most astonishing comebacks that we have ever seen in political history, given where he was after 2 impeachments, the insurrection at the Capitol, 34 criminal convictions, and the American people have said, we want you back in the White House. Unbelievable.
Sarah Palin, how has he done it?
It's kind of the beauty of, or at least the nature of, the style of governance here in the U.S., where that pendulum swings. We go 4 years, especially in the recent history, with one party, and then people think, well, the grass has got to be greener over on the other side, and you didn't govern as you had campaigned, people, so we're going to go over here next.
And so this is just a natural swing? Well, surely, I would have thought you'd say something more sort of positive about the magnetism of Donald Trump, the character.
Well,
because he has defied, I mean, as John Sopel just pointed out, he's a convicted criminal.
So what I explained was the nature of our governance, and tradition shows that it plays out that way. But as for Donald Trump, people did not necessarily vote for he as a person who has some of these idiosyncrasies that you suggest, but they voted for what he represents, what is on that Trump train, and that is a promise to not fundamentally transform America, as had been promised would be done to America. That happened back in 2008 when Barack Obama promised that they were just days away before the election in 2008. America would be fundamentally transformed. People this go around were saying, we don't want a transformation, we want a restoration of all this good and free and right about America. And that is what the Trump, the MAGA movement, that is really a perpetuation of the Tea Party movement back 15, 16 years ago. That's what this is about.
Do you mean a sort of traditional values, socially conservative America?
More of a freedom-loving, America first, no war, quit wasting money, government. Government, get off our back, get back on our side. Okay. It's kind of a rage against the machine.
Pat Spearman, you are a state senator down in Nevada, big Harris supporter. I wonder, is this about a restoration of values, a return to more traditional view of America, or is it just something much more simple, which is that it's all about the economy? And if you go back 6 months ago in the polls, when Joe Biden was president, and hadn't stood down, the economy was the big issue. Trump was ahead. Kamala Harris has valiantly tried to turn things around. But in the end, if you look in Pennsylvania, top issue, the economy, people feeling worse off. Inflation hit them hard. The economy has lost it for the Biden-Harris presidency.
With all due respect, and I appreciate Governor Palin's comments, but with all due respect, and I'm going to bring my perspective.
Of course.
I've never been white in my life, and I've never been a white man in my life. I've lived my entire life as a black person, an African American. And so when I look at tonight, this is why my heart breaks. Because you talk about, is it a restoration of what? When Barack Obama took office in 2008, the things that he promised, yes, they did come true, because what he was talking about was going into the ideal of a perfected union, which we have not become. And so for people who have been born in privilege, they do not understand the struggles of those who are still trying to be accepted as equal. When I look at what happened tonight, it is very clear to me that the mirror that we have held up to our face as Americans is not what the Founding Fathers really envisioned. It is not what we, the people, envisioned. It is not.
The black voters, especially younger black voters and Hispanic voters, have shifted in this election compared to 2020 to Donald Trump.
Yeah,
they weren't voting about race. Yeah, they were voting about their pocketbook and their insecurity.
Well, and can I address that, please? Because there's been this myth that the Biden economy was bad. But if you go back to 2019, 2017, Barack Obama handed over an economy that was growing. 17 and 18. Then we had COVID to come in. COVID came in, and you had a president who refused scientific evidence, and people in America were dying. People in my district were dying. There were families who were burying 2 and 3 people. Hold on, can I just finish? There were families who were burying 2 or 3 people a week. Okay? And so when people talk about, the economy went into a slump with COVID. And when Biden-Harris administration took over, they were trying to dig themselves out.
The fact is that what Donald Trump has achieved, apparently tonight, and becoming the 47th president of the United States, is that he has built a coalition, as you say, where he has brought in a lot of young Latino men. He's gone for the bro vote. He's gone for macho man. And it has worked. We're going to see, I'm sure, at the end of this, that a lot more women have voted for Kamala Harris, but an awful lot more men have voted for Donald Trump. And 6 months ago, I was in Steve Bannon's place in Washington, D.C., the mastermind of Trumpism, and he was saying, OK, we're going to lose the women's vote over the change in abortion laws, but we are going to go after macho man. And sure enough, they have done that. You can talk about Trump's ill discipline, you can talk about the idiosyncrasies, but actually there was a strategy there which looks like it has delivered tonight for Donald Trump.
And that was Hispanic and younger black men too.
Yeah, exactly. Hispanic and younger black men too. And the numbers that I'm seeing, out of places of Michigan and, other places.
Yeah, can I just comment on that? Because, and I spoke to some black men. I have some in my family, believe it or not. And one of the things that was misconstrued is the stimulus check. That was not Donald Trump, but he put his name on it, and people thought that. And so what we have seen tonight, and this is the thing that disturbs me the most as a policymaker, because President Obama showed up to a press conference in a tan suit, and people lost their wigs. They lost their minds. Their heads exploded. He showed up in a tan suit.
Why? Why did people get upset about that?
I don't know. I don't know, because, previously people always in dark suits, and he shows up in a tan suit. Well, what's wrong with that? But, and the same people who talk about values and who talk about principles and who talk about what it is that God wants us to do, these are the same people who have no problem to keep things the way they are, to make sure that people like me, to make people who have been oppressed all of our lives, to make sure that we stay in the place. I'm not finished, just a minute. To make sure that we stay in the place where they have provided for us. And so I look at the race tonight, and let me say this. Until it is 270, if it's 270, I will be deeply saddened. As a veteran, I will be deeply saddened, and I will be at the point of festivity because someone stood over the graves of those who gave their lives for this country and called us suckers and losers. And all he did was get a pimple on his ankle and did not go to service.
I think you are going to be saddened, though, because it absolutely looks like Donald Trump is going to win.
I will be sad.
Sarah, is this about immigration? Is it about culture? Is it about abortion? Or is it just down to the economy and living standards, and people don't feel they've got better off in the last couple of years?
I think people feel it, and I'll address the suggested question anyway about, what does restoration of America mean? It means getting back to our charters of liberty, to that perfect blueprint that will allow a more perfect union that is to be based on equality and equal opportunity.
But Sarah, what are Americans not free to do that Donald Trump's going to give them the freedom to do?
Let's talk about the Bill of Rights, where there has been an erosion of the Second Amendment, our right,
the right to bear arms.
Protect ourselves.
I don't think there's been an erosion.
There has been.
You've got a huge explosion of gun violence.
Kamala Harris's statement, remember, where she said she wanted a government buyback, which is a confiscation of firearms, because you can't buy back something you never had to start with. So that in itself. And
she also said that she's a gun owner, and if anyone broke into her house, she'd shoot them.
Interject this, because I hear this a lot. I hear this a lot when people saying there's been an erosion of the Second Second Amendment. There's not been an erosion of the Second Amendment because we want common sense gun laws. That doesn't mean we have common sense laws about pool safety. That doesn't mean that people are coming to take your pool. It simply means that we want to make sure that kids are not hiding under desks. We want to make sure that this generation has grown up, and what they do is they prepare for the inevitability, God bless us, but the inevitability that there may be a shooter. And so there's not been an erosion. You want to talk about the erosion of rights? How about women who get pregnant, who need an abortion to save their lives, and because men have decided they do not need it or they shouldn't have it, they have done. And you want to talk about the erosion of rights?
I think it's men and women. Because I think Sarah is probably going to agree with the person on that. It's men and women.
Yeah, can I just finish this? So here's the thing. The erosion of rights. Okay, so I happen to be a same-gender loving woman, okay? In Donald Trump's America, and when people talk about going backwards, they're talking about criminalizing the people like me who love someone who love differently. You want to talk about an erosion of rights? Then if the government, if they really want us to be free, get out of our bedroom, because that's nasty.
Sarah,
what has he done that would even make you think that there would be some criminality attached to...
Isn't there likely to be a federal push now, a federal push on restricting abortion? Not necessarily a federal law, but there's lots of things the federal government can do to push back now on abortion. For example, the movement of abortion medicines across state borders.
I think a lot of people have tried to create this narrative and package it and sell it, the abortion issue, as...
But you want that.
...as an issue to divide the populace. It's not an administrative White House position. It's not part of the presidential campaign. Why is it? We're not talking about federal law. We're talking about finally the highest court.
You can take, which aren't necessarily the law.
Court in the land has deemed and codified the fact that the abortion issue needs to be a state issue, a more local government issue.
But aren't you championing Donald Trump to be president?
And you can argue with the Supreme Court on it.
You want Donald Trump to act on abortion.
Who deemed it.
It's what
Sarah,
you
you just said...
Sorry, it's a question. I'm saying, isn't it right to say you want him to use the White House to push back abortion?
Donald Trump has been clear, saying he believes that the Supreme Court was right in putting the issue back down.
He's also been clear about the fact that he thinks that there should be punishment for a woman who has an abortion. And so when we start talking about that, and so it goes back to the states. You know what that sounds like to me as a black person? That sounds like slavery. Put it back to the states, because it depends upon what state you live in.
No, you should want local government, more of a local government. The most effective and a most efficient level of government is the more local.
Jones, trying to make comments.
Letting the will of the people be heard.
You started off by saying that people wanted their freedoms back, and that's what Donald Trump was giving. Women are being denied that freedom as a result of the changes of the overturning of Roe versus Wade and the Dobbs ruling.
All that did was bring it back down to the states for the people to decide
and the states can decide that women can't have an abortion after 6 weeks, which is having a chill effect on medical care that is being given to women who don't want to lose their babies but may have a complicated pregnancy. And no doctor dares go near them for fear of breaking the law now. And you're seeing it in Florida, you're seeing it in Iowa, in places where that 6-week ban has been brought in and endangering the lives of women.
As a state issue now, the will of the people in each state will be heard and will be adhered to, because they'll be the ones voting on it.
Leave it to the women to decide.
Why should the federal government be in the issue? Our federal government is so out of control with its growth and its overreach. You know what the federal government was set up to do in America? Very minimal obligation and responsibility. Our governance was supposed to be about states, communities, most importantly, individuals being able to run their own lives, run their own businesses, raise their own kids.